Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Ana Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel to Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Happy Friday, and welcome to episode 65 of The Gavel, a podcast dedicated to delivering the latest news and critical updates to the global community of victims of government weaponization, alongside important developments in my mission to achieve freedom from modern-day slavery. Today is Friday, August 14th, 2026, and this episode constitutes a permanent record of our community's fight to expose and end the illegal, unacknowledged special access program that enjoys a security clearance level 35 named Ultra, used to carry out human experimentation and torture here in America. Yes, MK Ultra never ended. Host Ana Toledo, a Puerto Rican attorney with over 30 years experience litigating First Amendment, civil rights, and environmental law matters. I relocated to Washington, D.C. with the goal of exposing and shutting down government weaponization and lawfare. Exposure is key towards setting us free. And this week's truth avalanche continues from all sides. I fight for an end to the torture that has been perpetrated against 6 million people around the globe, more than 300,000 in the United States alone. Full accountability for the government actors responsible for it, and justice for all those whose lives have been obliterated, including the victims that did not survive. This week, the exposure continues to be huge, powerful confirmation that our efforts, your efforts, have not been in vain. So please like, share, and subscribe. It costs you nothing and makes a huge difference. Even this week, King.com has been saying how X is not only giving you fake results in Grok, but also throttling accounts. So I urge you to please like, share, and subscribe, because we only have each other. That is how we can get things done here. So to begin with, I have to invoke the scriptures, and for those that don't like it, I'm sorry, but it's called free speech. And I just got this today. It's from Numbers 6 to 26 to 24 to 26, and says, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." And this reminds me, one of the beautiful customs in Puerto Rico, but in the countryside, not in the city per se, is that the children ask the parents and the aunts and the uncles, when saying hello and when saying goodbye, they say, "Bless me," bendición. And so you say, "Dios te bendiga," God bless you. And my son, every time I talk to him on the phone, asks me to bless him. And that's just so tender, because I know it was not me who taught it to him, because I didn't have that custom. It was taught to him by someone whom I'm very grateful that taught him that. So I just ask our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ to bless this place, and to keep the criminals out, and to let us have a little time, a peaceful exchange that we need on a Friday night. Please tell me if you're hearing me okay. Yes. Hi, Judy. Hi, everyone. Welcome, everyone. So today I had a little encounter with a gang stalking criminals, and it's so funny because I know they wish they could actually do something to me, but the most they could do was steal my parking ticket from a locker. And so, because there's cameras everywhere, so I was going to make a fit. If something else was missing, I was going to make a huge fit, but it didn't get that way. It's just so frustrating for them. But anyways, please like, share, and subscribe before we go any further. And for those of you that did not get a chance to see, to read this week's newsletter, here we have a summary of it from our dear Sean, who is such an amazing creator. Every day he just gets better and better, and we're so proud to have him in our team.
The National Desk's Angela Brown joins us right now. Very interesting topic here, Angela. First of all, what is Havana syndrome?
If you listen to the legacy media, you would think that Havana syndrome is a permanent mystery, but this is not true. Anomalous health incidence type 1, or AHI type 1, or AHI1 for short, is a clinically distinct subgroup in the 2024 NIH Havana syndrome study. Different from AHI type 2 associated with stress and PTSD. Without beating around the bush, here is why Grok 4.5 thinks AHI type 1 are caused by directed energy. Norwegian scientist pulsed microwave self-experiment back in 2024. Human exposure produced neurological symptoms consistent with AHI. Former DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, ICA recall notification on June 2026. The U.S. intelligence formally rescinded the 2023 and 2025 ICAs that had judged external mechanisms very unlikely, citing analytic failures and reliance on a flawed medical study. Dr. Len Baer reanalysis of Pierpaoli et al. 2024, AHI1 subset on 2026. Significant salience network hypoconnectivity and trend level white matter changes confined to validated AHI1 cases. Special thanks to Dr. Len Baer for this informative article.
Kathy O'Brien, Max Lowen, Lynn Scott Hagerman, and Dr. Juliette Engel all gave a great interview as an alternative to congressional testimony. We would like to do a similar video and include representation from Epstein survivors and targeted justice to show how it all fits together under Ultra. We have not tried this service, but would like to hear from any TIs who had experience with them. Special thanks to Keith.
It was Armando's birthday this past week, but if you haven't done so already, show your appreciation for him. He has done a lot for the community with his inventions that helped shield TIs from directed energy attacks. He has done some amazing and important research for targeted justice, and is a hardworking dad. Thank you, Armando.
Stop using text messages, Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, etc. They are not secure and lack privacy features. Use Proton Mail instead. In most cases, police can obtain text and call metadata after 6 months, and often much longer, under federal law that applies nationwide, including in most states. The Federal Stored Communications Act sets the baseline rules that govern how law enforcement can compel phone carriers or service providers to turn over records. After 6 months, police in most states can obtain available metadata through a court order or warrant for more sensitive location data provided the carrier has retained it. This is distinct from message content, which faces higher barriers. Rules can vary slightly by jurisdiction and the exact type of metadata sought, so specific cases depend on local practice and the facts.
Calling all digital warriors. Please share, repost, copy and paste this video on all social media platforms. Attorney Ana Toledo has headed to Washington, D.C. to represent all victims of government weaponization. She is not leaving until every single victim is free. Please help with her financials while she's living there by donating to the following link. We are still looking for volunteers. Let us know how you can help and the skill sets that you have by emailing us at tjustice2@proton.me. Put volunteer in the subject line. We have over 500 videos of targeted justice content by going to the following link. Buy some cool gifts, shirts, hoodies, cups, keychains, and more by heading to the following links. Please consider donating. Targeted Justice is non-profit, and the donations are tax deductible. Thank you again for watching this video. God bless. God bless. God bless.
Yeah, God bless you all, and God bless Sean for his amazing work. Yeah, at the end, I'm going to talk about the volunteers that we need for targeted action. We are counting on you, not just to show up, but to help us in the logistics of everything that needs to be done. So in this week's news, I want you to continue connecting the dots. My mom used to say, Rome was not built in a single day. And this is snowballing into inevitable exposure and freedom. For example, another criminal gang stalking case was exposed. They were convicted in France. Last week, I told you about the eBay case where there were federal convictions because the FBI threw them under the bus when they realized they couldn't protect them. And then now the Freemasons in the Athenor Lodge have been convicted, 17 out of 22. There is absolute silence in the mainstream media. Even preparing for today, I had to read Le Monde and The Intercept because local news media has not covered this hugely important case. So, you know, the Stainer versus eBay case, which we wrote an article on X, it already has 20,000 views. People are listening. People are paying attention. Gang stalking is no longer plausible deniable. It's very real, and it has a monetary value. That is huge for our community. Well, this week in France, you know that outside of the United States, the gang stalking is even more criminal, more severe than it is here, if you can imagine that. Well, back in March, I had told you about the criminal trial in France that began in March 30th, 2026, against a member of a gang stalking Masonic lodge. Even though it ended more than 2 weeks ago, no one has reported on it. You didn't see it on X, you didn't see it anywhere. So my mental alarm clock told me I knew it was because they had announced it was going to end in July. So I looked it up, and lo and behold, 17 of the 22 defendants were convicted by a female judge. So after more than 3 months of the hearings in the case involving a murder, 2 attempted murders, and several violent assaults, these 22 defendants involved were linked to a Masonic lodge in the Paris region on July 17th, 2026. It was in the Paris Assize Court that delivered the verdict. This high-profile case involved a criminal network described in the news coverage as a kind of, does this resonate with you? A crime small business. That's what fusion centers are, that operated from roughly 2016 to 2020 and was linked to members of the Athenor Masonic Lodge. This is no coincidence. In 2016 is when the targeting went off the charts. I believe it's that Generation 3 GPS satellites were launched, Lockheed, and little man Charles Cable became, he's a little man, he's shorter than me, became the director of the terrorist screening database. And I just laughed in my mind because Phil Kennedy, one of the whistleblowers, FBI whistleblowers, one of the suspendables, said something that after seeing the Fauci diary, he will never trust a little man again. Well, it's the same with Charles Cable. Our numbers reflect that more than 62% of TIs were targeted after he became the director of the terrorist screening database in March of 2016. So yeah, in due time, that's the man, aside from the other people you have to sue, but that's the man that I want to see 100, 200, 300 lawsuits against him. So he has to hire an attorney because the government cannot give him a representation anymore. Okay, back to the Masons. This is huge because many of you know that the Masons have been involved in the gang stalking. They don't run the program, but they are ready, willing, and able to do the gang stalking. And in this case, it was very revealing that some of the people that were collaborating with them were told that the victims were Mossad, were criminals, like they say about us. So among the defendants, there's former intelligence operatives, police officers, military personnel, and business executives. Sound familiar? Accused of running a shadow criminal network, sounds familiar, tied to the dissolved Athanor Masonic Lodge in Puteaux. Charges include murder. I told you that. Okay. Now, some of the Freemasons were from the domestic services and the DGSE, which is the Direction Générale de la Sécurité Extérieure, which is the French equivalent of the CIA in the United States. It's the intelligence. Some of them came from that agency. They were engaged in a mission called HOMO, a term they believed referred to a clandestine homicide operation targeting a woman named Marie-Hélène Denis. They had been told that she was an agent of the Israeli Mossad and needed to be eliminated. Denis had already survived. She's been a target for a long time. She had already survived a violent assault in October of 2019. And 9 months later, these two men waited outside her home with a loaded revolver. She later described living under alarm systems with an SOS device next to her bed and a constant sense of danger in the street. What she doesn't know is that this is a program run and financed by the United States of America. It's not just, the little Athanor Lodge that the Masons abandoned them, shut down the shop. Let me tell you about it. Gets not thickens. So, Constance said, Athanor belonged to the Grande Loge de l'Alliance Maçonnique Française, because the Masons come from France. And an obedience founded in 2012 by Alain Juliet, former director of intelligence at the DGSE. The Athanor case revealed that Beaulieu, which is a 70-year-old man, which like the wickedest, the leader of the gang, used the same technique inside the milieu of French Masonry. Investigators uncovered a network of former intelligence officers, police, private security operatives, and businessmen involved in the assaults, arson, and contract killings. Beaulieu skillfully convinced certain operatives that they were carrying out missions under the protection of the state. Sound familiar? That's why they tell the criminals that follow us around that they are protecting the United States. They're being patriots. And he relied on psychological influence and clandestine organization to maintain control. During the trial, Beaulieu explained his methods with a sentence that echoed through the courtroom. He said, in French, of course, In my profession, one often advances masked, one lies, one manipulates. Now, does that ring a bell? Because I'm going to read to you what Mike Pompeo, former CIA director under Trump's first term, and then he was Secretary of State, said. He said in April 2019, while speaking at Texas A&M, this is an admission of guilt. I was the CIA director. We lied. We cheated. We stole. We had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment. What a criminal. I don't know why he's not in jail. You should. Let's hope that these, they're convening. They are just convened a grand jury in DC, which is an unprecedented, like a permanent grand jury, it's not unprecedented, but it's a highly irregular thing. And so, I know that they're just looking at a lot of people, particularly Chris Wray, who not only did he perjure himself, but he was investigating President Trump and doing really illegal things. So let's just hope that happens. But Pompeo should be one of them. He just admitted it. We lied, we cheated, and we stole. That is a confession, an admission of fact. Anyways, so Daniel Beaulieu was convicted. He was 72 years old to 30 years in prison. The Freemason is going to spend the rest of his living days thinking about all the harm he did to all his victims. And that's exactly what we want here in America to happen, and everywhere around the world where we have these little outfits perpetrating the gang stalking. He will definitely rot in prison, where he'll have plenty of time to think about all the harm he has done, to go on his knees and ask Jesus for forgiveness. I don't even know that he can be forgiven. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the person to tell, but anyways, supposedly he apologized. The other guy that was convicted, it's a former journalist turned business intelligence specialist, completely mind controlled, involved in arranging contracts, 55. He was sentenced to 25 years. Again, he will spend plenty of time in jail and prison with all the immigrants that are putting in prison there, and have plenty of time. That'll probably abuse him a lot. Yeah, have plenty of time to think about all the harm he's done. The other guy that got 27 years is Sebastien Leroy, former security guard and described as the main executor and hitman. So other convictions range from 6 months suspended term to multi-year prison terms. And 5 defendants were acquitted. Now, the thing is, what about damages? Well, in French criminal procedure, the victims can join the criminal case, as it happened in this case, as parties civiles to claim compensation for the harm suffered. But when the judge issued the judgment, or at least it's not in the news articles, the total sum of financial damages awarded by the court has not yet been publicized as a single global figure in major French judicial reports. There are no reports that the Masons as an organization have been sued. And here is where I think that I should get the address to this lady and have all of you write to her and tell her, go ahead and sue the entire Mason Lodge, because this is not just a problem that is limited to where you are. This is a worldwide event. So just as it happened in the eBay case, the Masons threw the criminals under the bus, shut down the lodge, the Athener Lodge, and immediately suspended the members involved and dissolved and distanced themselves entirely. So they abandoned their perps to their fate. So here's my message to those stupid imbecile gang stalkers. When you get caught, neither the FBI, nor the fusion centers, nor the Masons are going to come to your rescue. You don't have immunity, and you will lose it all, and you might end up in jail. So you know what? Give it up. Get a real job. Okay, now that's my message for today for the criminals that are just going out of control. Kevin Shipp, I love it. Kevin Shipp is getting really mad, and let me just show you. He's getting real mad because the CIA continues to gaslight him, and I think he wrote a book, and which of course was edited by the CIA. However, look at his post. It says, CIA, this is your first warning to lift the state secret privilege and release the evidence in this woman's case. I will take this very seriously. Next comes more family jewels, which are held by a third party if something happens to me. Those are the dead man switches that all of you should have one. I promised Jim I'm going to give him one of mine because I have tons of them. And then and it says, and your wicked operations I was part of, open for all to see. You tried to silence me once. This time it's going to be messy. To all my followers, send this to everyone you know. This will be an earthquake. That sounds amazing. That is one earthquake that I am more than willing to live through. And all my respect to Kevin Shipp, who is very courageous, because we know what these criminals are capable of. Now, another hero alert. Today I should call this episode the hero episode. Another hero alert. Representative Keith Self from Texas introduced legislation requiring federal agencies to get a warrant prior to accessing data collected by surveillance cameras. Aside from the fact that normies are already up in arms with the Fourth Amendment, this is important for us because I have the intuition that the DHS and Fusion Center criminals are getting this data in real time. And as you know, it not only reads your license plate and tells them exactly where you are, but also sucks your Bluetooth and Wi-Fi data. That is why having a 20-year-old car is the best for a TI, number one. Number two, if you go in your car, put your phone on airplane mode if possible, and shut it off and put it in a Faraday cage, because you don't want to give for free to the flock and to the other people you don't want to give them your data, right? So here is what he said, which he's becoming, him and Tim Burchett are becoming some of my favorite representatives, because they are true patriots. So here it is. Here is what he said. Of course, if the criminals allow it to come in, right? Here it is.
We've got the kill switch that is in law today that will start in 2027. Every car made in 2027 will be able to spy on you. If they think you're impaired, like you're excited because your wife is having a baby and you're trying to get to the hospital, it won't start because it thinks you are impaired. And then the flock cameras, we've got over 100,000 and growing every day around the United States. This is a surveillance state that Americans just don't like. We've got the kill switch that is in law today.
It's a surveillance
that will start in 2027. Every car.
It's a surveillance state that Americans don't want. So that's him. And he presented this legislation that targets the practice of federal agencies querying or accessing surveillance data already collected by state and local systems, including automated license plate readers, such as Flock and other cameras. It prohibits to get that information without a warrant. Key provisions include the Attorney General must create and maintain a jurisdictional wall list of covered state, local surveillance devices and technologies, an inventory. Federal law enforcement must obtain a warrant before accessing or querying data from those systems. This does away with the illegal 702 FISA, which we know it's dead, but since the warrants that were already issued are still in place, it's not going to be until March 2027 that it finally dies. And I think that there's no resuscitating that corpse. Well, the FISA 702 corpse. So, and then the data obtained under a warrant must generally be deleted after 30 days. Exceptions, if only if it's evidence in a prosecution or the court grants a limited extension. It's not a ban on cameras or system at a state or local level. However, we have also Tim Burchett's version, which is another law. And for this one, I am going to ask you that you call your representative and write to them, because Burchett's Protection Against Mass Surveillance Act, HR 9800, introduced on July 21st, 2026. It's a more encompassing prohibition. Let me, there you have it. I'm going to put here a protection against mass surveillance. I'm going to put it in the chat, and then I'm going to put in the chat as well the links to your legislators, because your congressmen and women and senators, because we're going to talk about that later. Okay, so this one provides that no federal agency may purchase, deploy, operate, access, or contract for any automated surveillance system that identifies, tracks, or records individuals via automated license plate recognition, explicitly including flock safety cameras, facial recognition, biometric identification. I'm telling you, you're going to stores right now, and some of these stores they're doing facial recognition on you, and some malls, or any technology that captures, analyzes, or retains a person image. So I really urge you, everybody, to contact your representative and tell them that you want them to support Tim Burchett's, here are the links, Tim Burchett's proposed statute, because the Fourth Amendment matters. Now, this is really great, because I think that Burchett has a lot of support. Like, everybody likes this guy. You know, he's everybody likes him. Anyway, normies are catching on, and there's no turning back on Don't Spy on Me. Everybody, please write it in my YouTube, especially. Don't spy on me. Now, this next, I know that Todd Blanche got confirmed. I don't think he's going to do anything for targeted individuals, just as what's her name, Harmeet Dillon hasn't done anything for us, because she says, oh, go write to your, I don't know what she even tells people to write to, but she's clearly not concerned that little girls are tortured. She's more concerned with her knitting and her diet than little girls being tortured. So what to me matters is that there is, America First Legal, that there are J6ers, that there is people like Tim Burchett. There are people that are good guys putting their neck on the line, like Kevin Shipp, putting their neck on the line and doing things. And these are the people, like all of us, that are going to show up to Targeted Action 2026. These are the people that are going to make change happen, not the ones that have been appointed by the president. Anyways, this one thing to me captured my attention, and I think that you should look at it. I'll have the Lighthouse take a look at it, because this is Miss Dr. Naomi. She's a doctor. Hold on, here it is. And she's talking that people that took the jab have become stupid. Naomi Wolf. She says 2/3 of humanity can't think straight anymore. This is incredible. They don't react, they don't question, they just obey. And what's interesting is that when the Lighthouse was giving away, when he was giving away flyers at the FBI, he was saying, these people look like zombies. Hold on, let me put it in the beginning. Hold on. Here we go.
It's definitely a psyop, but it's the most effective, sophisticated psyop I've ever seen in my lifetime. Eventually, I think we're going to find out even more nefarious things about why, to this day, people are not reasoning the way they used to before 2020. You suddenly had a bizarre situation of really mass hypnosis in which about 1/3 of the population was reasoning normally, and 2/3 of the population could no longer reason. The mass credulity just doesn't make sense. These are intelligent, thoughtful people who are educated exactly the way I'm educated, and were no longer able to reason. And many people have talked about personality changes, in their loved ones that could have to do with the damage to the prefrontal cortex, but may have to do with a confluence of other factors that.
And what she doesn't know is the mass formation. MK Ultra never ended. That the cell towers are being used to perpetrate mass formation on the population. So we need to reach out to them, Children's Health Defense, and tell them it's the cell towers doing it. Yeah, maybe some of the self-assembling nanotechnology aids in this process, because many of the people that have been vaccinated, really, they don't seem to be all there. But Naomi Wolf, who has a strong following, is sounding the alarm. And I think this is a great thing, because this comes into the realm of, the cognitive freedom and how people are no longer thinking for themselves. It's starting to happen. It's no longer a conspiracy theory. Anyways, so I think that's great. More visibility on DB. It's an acknowledgement. It's been decided that directed energy weapons cause anomalous health incidents or Havana syndrome. And thank you, Dr. Bear, for reporting on this. I'm going to play you the video that was the introduction to the Fox special on Havana syndrome. And the things.
The Department of War has quietly changed the name of its anomalous health incidents cross-functional team. It's now called the Directed Energy Bioeffects Cross-Functional Team. It's the first acknowledgement by the government that these injuries involve some sort of directed energy exposure. The Department of War has also distributed more than $3 million in compensation to Havana syndrome victims. But even with compensation and the beginning of recognition, the victims still suffer. And it's unclear who the enemy is behind all of this. Thanks for watching.
That special, even though I'm going to report what Dr. Bear, who was so kind, because this is behind a paywall, so he watched it, and here's his take on it. It was an hour special by Fox News shedding light on DB, but it's all Russia narrative, because I'm telling you, I went to that conference where they were speaking there, and they're all completely brainwashed that it's Russia doing it. It doesn't occur to them that it could be the same agency that killed Kennedy, the same agency that killed Martin Luther King, the same agency that did MK Ultra. It doesn't cross their mind. It did not include, the special does not include civilians, unlike the reporting by Catherine Hedrich that recently added civilian to the list of victims. And yes, the entire explanatory narrative was 100% Russia. Also, a little slightly different from Catherine Herridge, that mentioned that there could be an insider threat line of inquiry, although she has not come back to revisit that. There were clear improvements over previous reporting. Havana syndrome was unambiguously framed as a form of brain injury. All the victims in the documentary, Lindsay's kids, Polymeropoulos, were emphasizing their traumatic brain injury diagnosis. Dr. Giordano explained that the type of brain injury and the methods of documenting it are different than for a mechanical concussion. HAI was introduced later in the film, and the term was criticized as the reason for reporting anything unusual, thus diluting the data. The documentary ends with the renaming of Pentagon's cross-functional team from AHI to DB, which is Directed Energy Bioeffects. So it's no longer a controverted fact that non-kinetic brain injury is caused by directed energy weapons. The film established a clear connection between directed energy, Havana syndrome, brain injury. And this is small step for man, huge step for mankind. We no longer can have the Ken Foster narrative that it's delusional and it's environmental factors. It's a done deal. Now we have to move on to get the recognition for civilian victims, which is what I have filed a lawsuit for in the Middle District of Florida. And as I have said before, that lawsuit does not seek damages for any of the plaintiffs. The plaintiffs are suffering atrociously. I just had an email 2 days ago from one of my plaintiffs. She's a real warrior. Thank you, Catherine. She's a real warrior, and they are just pummeling her. So we have to all be grateful to these courageous warriors that are fighting for the anomalous health incidents and Havana syndrome to be recognized for all civilians, so that the CDC is forced to distribute, to publish the diagnostic criteria for civilians. This is an illness that does not discriminate. It's not just for federal employees and diplomats. Anyways, this is not part of the avalanche, although I think eventually it could be. And it's a historic anecdote that I saw today, and it shocked me because I don't know if for you, but it's the first time I've heard it. And it has to do obviously with the CIA criminals. So I don't know how many of you knew that, yeah, they're cowards. They're cowards. And I just so much relish that. I don't know how many of you knew that John F. Kennedy had tons of rocking chairs, and that can be found in museums and collections worldwide, because he kept them everywhere because they helped him struggle with pain, fatigue, sleep. Does this sound familiar? Pain, fatigue, sleep disturbance, and other symptoms that the medicine of his era couldn't fully explain, but we know what they were. The chairs were prescribed to help relieve his pain, keeping his back muscles in motion. Some pain specialists say that JFK's symptoms were consistent with fibromyalgia. And even though I am not a doctor, I am so certain that once the weapons are shut down, the fibromyalgia will magically disappear. But that's me, an attorney that doesn't know any better, because I don't have a medical degree like Dr. Bear. But so the diagnosis would not conflict with the president's better-known medical conditions, including severe back pain and Addison's disease, the adrenal disorder behind his characteristic tan. Physicians now recognize that fibromyalgia, known as fibrocystis at the time and poorly understood, often exists alongside other medical conditions. Now, my opinion is that he was tortured with, there were no directed, I already consulted with the Lighthouse about this. See, we already know that the CIA murdered him. That's a fact that has been exposed, declassified. So despite the CIA's continuing cover-up, the Moscow signal was a transmission directed at the Embassy of the United States in Moscow from 1953 to 76, resulting in an international incident. But the signals used in Moscow were ionizing radiation from an X-ray weapon. That was not a microwave weapon. But the criminals at the CIA and the State Department knew that it was harmful to their employees in Moscow, and yet they allowed them to continue being radiated. And then they used it against other people. So in 1975 phone call, U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger links Joseph's illness to the so-called microwaves and stated, "We are trying to keep the thing quiet." So I'm absolutely certain that the criminals were the ones that were hurting him, because I know for a fact that they hurt our Puerto Rican patriot. Let me show you, because you need to know, this is before any of you got burned with microwave weapons. Our patriot, Albizu Campos, who was the COINTELPRO's main target, they put him in jail for talking about freedom from Puerto Rico, liberty, independence. Guess what? They x-rayed him, burned his legs, and eventually murdered him. So we know that these criminals were doing these nasty things because that's all they need to, that's all they know how to do, nasty things. Okay, flop post of the day. So this one is cute. If George Washington lived today, this is what he would be doing to the flock cameras. I'm not inciting any violence. I'm just told you that I would be bringing you the flock post of the day. Now, there's a lot of rumors of grand juries that are being convened, exposure of documents. Chris Wray, I think, may be indicted, and that would be a huge win for our community because he has been a major criminal with the program, particularly in TJB Garland. They all colluded to hide the truth and deny us the little discovery of the TSDB status of the plaintiffs, just so that they could dismiss it. So I'm not going to get overly excited because I don't have much trust in Todd Blanche. So more shall be revealed in there, but it seems that good things are happening. I think that journalists like Steve Baker, that I really urge you to follow, he is getting to the bottom of the CIA criminality. Remember, this is a man who is completely healthy, and all of a sudden, after he published his article about the former Capitol Police, who he believed, because of the gate analysis, was the pipe bomber, then all of a sudden he got a heart attack and he almost died. Yeah. So follow him, just like Judicial Watch, that is giving a hard time to the FBI criminals that are telling Tom Fitton that it's going to take 100. I told you this last week, 158 years to go through the burn backs of almost 2 million documents that they were ready to burn. And I am absolutely certain that in those burn backs, there is a lot of the criminality that the FBI has done against all of you, because they didn't want to digitalize it, and they didn't even put it as a prohibited access files. It's so criminal. I'm sure that in there, they have the people they've murdered. They have so many of their crimes. That's why. And what I think, it had to be a white hat that hit them, and they weren't burned, because as you know, 80% of the MK Ultra records were destroyed by the CIA criminals. Anyways, so we're looking forward to that. Now, regarding, I got this, and it was in the Targeted Justice newsletter, and I did a little digging about this matter here. And the truth is that it was not, it was not presented. It's a Texas proposed act, but it was not proposed by an elected official or it doesn't have a former legislative sponsor. Nobody has in the Texas legislature has officially proposed this. That's what I'm trying to say. And for those of you that are pushing for it, well, I commend you. I think it's a great effort, but I think that as an attorney, it was created by a grassroots root. As an attorney, my advice, what the legislature can do in Texas is rein in the abuses of the Fusion Center and all their hiring of Citizen Corp that I know has a free reign in Texas for the gang stalking. Because I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but here's the truth. No state act can override federal law. There's something called the Supremacy Clause. So you cannot tell like Texas cannot tell Chan Salzman in Colorado, stop torturing my children, let my people go, because the federal government has supremacy over all the states, even if it's a criminal like Chan Salzman. What we do want you to come is to Targeted Action 2026, because we want to flood the halls of Congress. I was thinking that we should have some sort of dress code so they can identify us, maybe with a Targeted Action t-shirt, or like black trousers and a white shirt, or I don't know what I'm going to come up with, and your lanyard, and just knocking on every single door or of the very last representative, so that not a single one of them has the opportunity of saying, I didn't know about this. If they don't want to join the movement to shut down illegal human experimentation and torture, that's on them. But at least, like I say here, now they know. And for that, I need you to show up. I'm going to show you that what we have in the Targeted Justice website right now, it's a very tentative schedule. We're planning it with tons of love for you, because it's dedicated to you, targeted survivors. And let me show you what we have done in the website. What I have done there, because I'm fixing everything. I'm doing everything. So you go here to the tab Targeted Action, and I put a timer there, okay? And it's dedicated here. This is the video. It's dedicated to the silent warrior, to the survivor warriors. And then we have here a tentative schedule, a preliminary schedule. Here's for payment of the registration fee. I'm telling you, please, we're going to do something really fantastic, but we need you to pay the registration fee, because we're counting on that. We need it in order to make additional banners and pay for a lot of the things that we're going to be doing for you. So if you haven't paid the registration fee, it's as if you haven't registered. And then I put down here rideshare information. Our volunteers are going to try to coordinate for those of you that are asking for a ride. If you would want to offer a ride, you can also, I think it allows you to amend your form and say, yeah, I can give a ride to one or two people. Just put it in there. I'm going to check the form today to make sure it's okay. But it's funny, because one person signed up on one day, and when I sent the payment reminder email, immediately the V2K had already convinced her not to go and remove me from all your lists. And I'm telling you something. First of all, we've had two of these. They have been super safe. People have come out really happy to have met other targets, and groups have formed because they got to meet people from the States. And it's just an activity, your life depends on getting back your freedom. this is the one thing you can do to have a meaningful impact. If we are a lot of people hitting those halls, you better believe that things are going to get moving. Also, Stephen, I think, is planning in Facebook for, and I'll put it here, for a camping area. But that, I guess, somebody would have to obviously stay behind and watch for everybody's things. But so you can check out Stephen in Facebook and see if he is really yeah. Well, you know what? I don't care about the trolls because those are unhappy people that are just jealous. I am used to getting, so many people are so envious that they cannot stop us. That they see, if they were so almighty, they think they have all the tools and all the gadgets. And guess what? If they were so almighty, I wouldn't be here. Targeted justice wouldn't exist. And the MK Ultra hearings would not be happening. So you know what, criminals? Sorry for you. Anyways, so I'm really counting. So far, we have only 82 responses, but much less have paid the registration fee. So please do it for you. Do it for your freedom. Do it for generations to come. And do not pay attention to the devil speaking to you, because obviously he wants to keep you tormented and enslaved all your life. The Privacy Act request, I'm asking you you schedule your appointments for the afternoons during Targeted Action 2026. We're going to go distribute flyers in homeless soup kitchens. We need to spread the word that what's happening to a lot of these people, it's not that they're crazy. Many of them, they just have no clue. So please make a huge effort to come. After all, your life, your freedom is on the line on this. Do not forget to send your Privacy Act request. The criminals are so nervous. The more nervous they get, the more creative. But they're no match for Jill. So you can hire Jill TJ at proton.me. She has already, one told them that one answer that until 2029 they cannot answer. The other one said that the name didn't appear. And of course we know now, because they're misspelling the names of people so that you don't show up. So yeah, Jill TJ at proton.me. Shout out to Jill, and also shout out to Jim, that every day he is reminding everybody of the 5-minute intention. I am free now. The targeting program has ended. And or whatever feels organic to you. So please follow him or set your alarm for 12 Eastern time. And then that depends on your time zone. And let's make an effort, because it's been proven that when a huge group of people get together in that intention, it can move mountains. I'm gonna be in DJ Chris a show next week to talk about targeted action. So if you have any questions you want me to answer, well, you show up to his show on Sunday. And as you all know, thank you everybody that has supported my work here. I am they are in recess now. I have been working day and night on a project, which is I am writing something for the people in Congress that that are investigating this matter, and it's an accumulation of everything I have learned since I got to Houston on September of 2022. So it's a huge endeavor, and I'm exhausted, but I think it's going to be really good, not just for the work I'm doing but but for the work that you are going to come do here in DC. And we're going to need volunteers to help us with some of the logistics. So I'm going to fix the form for those of you, or you can send an email to Targeted Action 2026@proton.me. We need people to do live streams, and we need people to help us with the registration and just to, coordinate things. So if you find it in your heart to help us, please do so, because this is a joint effort that can be a huge success with your help. My deepest gratitude and thanks to all of you. Blessings to all of you. And I hope to see you next week. That I'm sure, I just feel it, that the things are getting better. Just having the eBay article hit 20,000 views, that's huge, because we are red pilling people. Oh, another announcement I wanted to say, we are growing the clergy tab in targetedjustice.com. We welcome your suggestions, because we want you to be able to send that link for your pastor, your minister, your clergy. So we welcome your suggestions as to the content that you would like us to put in there. Okay, so you can write to tjustice2@proton.me, and in the subject line put clergy tab, and I will take care of it. And thank you everyone for being here, and I hope I can see you next Friday for our happy hour here. Blessings.